Welcome back. Today's practice is going to be a lower back focus. It's a restorative yoga that helps us cultivate the skills and conscious relaxation. Now, this is a practice I typically use that feels good for my body, but if you have any pre-existing conditions, please consult your doctors and be mindful of your practice. With that said, we're going to need some props. You'll need a foam roller, some blocks, a tennis ball or a lacrosse ball, a PVC pipe or broomstick, a blanket, a pillow or a bolster, and the wall. With that said, let's get started. Inhale your hands up. Exhale, bring your hands down. Use this opportunity to set an intention. Take a couple breaths. Wiggle your hands out. I'm going to start off by doing a little bit of spinal twist. I'm going to grab your right hand, place it over your left knee. Grab your left hand, put it on the small of your back. You want to begin to turn or twist in a corkscrew fashion. Basically starting from the lumbar, working your way up. You want to maintain that posture. And again, take a couple breaths here. Let's do that with the other side. Left hand over your right knee, right hand in the small of your back. Gaze over your right shoulder and take a couple breaths. Gently release. Remain on your knees. Inhale your hands up. Exhale, forward fold. I'm going to reposition myself. Forward fold. I want to kind of wiggle into this forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold deeper. And you want to get that side extension. Reach to your left and extend. Breathe. Let's do the other side. Extend. That back extension there and breathe. Make sure you're not clenching your jaw during this process either. Let's transition into some cat-cows. Inhale up. Exhale, really curve into your cat. Inhale up. Exhale. Let's do one more. Inhale up. Exhale. And then come down. We're going to start off by releasing some of the tension in our lower back. Grab your tennis ball and your lacrosse ball. And what we want to do is kind of go over the mechanics of straightening out our hips. Now, think about every time you walk, what motion do you typically use? Now, a lot of people lead with their hips and, basically are making their hips do all the work. So every time you do that, there's this tension that develops in your lower back. And I know these are the mechanics of just walking, but an act that we do every day. But when you're mindful about your posture when you actually walk and you're not dragging your foot or you're not using your hip sways as often, you're not causing that repetitive tension that's happening. So just, and I'm over exaggerating these movements. So one way to fix this is just be mindful of your posture and just, continue in that almost robotic motion and strengthening and tightening your core. Now you don't want to lead yourself moving forward, and a lot of people tend to lean forward. And the other option is to actually grab a wall and set your tennis ball and your lacrosse ball on the side, and then come seated on the floor and position your legs at a 90-degree angle. And you want to use this opportunity to kind of make sure that your lower back is touching the floor. Now take a moment to kind of just relax and settle in this position, and you'll notice a little bit of tension that's having. So you want to grab your right leg and place it over your left knee, and you'll notice that your knee doesn't sit parallel with the wall. The knee that's actually propped up won't sit parallel with the wall. You want to gently push that so that way it's parallel with the wall. And you want to dorsiflex the foot as well. Now you don't want to put too much pressure, like you don't want to go crazy with that pressure. You want to just gently push it. So gently push. And be mindful that you want to just kind of slowly increase this tension so that way you're not overhurting yourself. And what you're doing here is actually straightening out, you're squaring up your hips. Take a couple breaths. Let's do the other leg. Again, extend your left leg over your right knee. Notice that your knee is not parallel with the wall. You want to give it a little bit of push, a slight push. And one knee might be better than the other, and that's where you'll notice that your body is just compensating when you walk, or you tend to lean or favor one side versus the other. Put a little bit of pressure there and use this opportunity to kind of just relax and lay here and enjoy. You want to plant your foot up on the wall. Grab the tennis ball, which is actually the softer one of the balls, and then place it right above your glute, kind of in the small of your back, and then you can kind of use this opportunity to kind of roll around, getting that little pressure there on that muscle. And depending on how tight or sensitive your muscles are, you can actually put your leg over your knee and try to parallel your knee again. And then just kind of increase the intensity. You also you can cradle the ball between your index finger and your thumb, so that way it doesn't slide out. And then use your opposite hand to kind of position your leg. And to even get a little more intense, you can actually use your lacrosse ball and do the same thing. So a little harder. Understand that this is going to be a little more painful, but it'll loosen up whatever tight muscle you have. Again, be mindful of your body and your pain tolerance. You can just kind of roll around, set your your foot back on the wall, and use this opportunity to kind of just roll back and forth. Kind of get any additional areas that you believe the ball hasn't touched yet. Let's switch the other leg, grab the tennis ball, position it under our glute or right in that small, and kind of rock back and forth. You can go in a circular manner and do what feels good. You want to also be mindful to continuously check for your leg being parallel with the wall. Switch to a harder ball, and then kind of just work your legs into the wall, rolling any muscles that you have there that might be a little tight. Now again, I can't stress enough that if this is too painful, just forget about it. Doing the action alone is good enough. Want to grab your knees, cradle them to your chest. Take a moment to rest in this position. And then just kind of roll right out of the position. Grab your tennis ball, place it over to the side. You want to grab your PVC pipe or your broomstick, and you want to place it in your back. And then grab your arms and then cradle them underneath, basically where your elbows are, in that pit of your elbow. And then you want to kind of do this rowing motion. What that's doing is kind of kneading those muscles, and the slower you do it, the better it is. I'm actually moving a little too fast here, but you can actually work it up and down your muscles by just kind of doing a cat-cow. And then kind of reversing your sway, like your row. So be mindful to take your breaths, deep breaths. And then what I'll do is I'll demonstrate rolling it up and down my back here. You get this rowing motion. The slower you do it, the better it is. And then you can roll it up and down. Now, granted, my shirt is bunching up here. So the level of intensity is just entirely up to you. You can release it by just kind of adjusting where your arms are. When you're done with that motion, set the PVC pipe to the side, come to your back. You gotta make sure that our lower back is touching the ground. Adjust your legs here, extend your left foot on the ground, keep the right foot up. Now you want to bring your knee to your chest, but don't grab your knee. Grab from underneath. You want to just kind of gently pull back, and you'll notice that one leg will probably want to lift off the ground, but the intention is to keep the other leg, or the opposite leg, on the ground. And then just kind of bring your knee to your chest as much as you can. And if you're looking for a little more intensity, you can just reach your foot and pull back. And probably kick your foot out. And the idea is to constantly fight your other leg from wanting to move up. Now, if you don't have this flexibility in there, there's no problem. You can bend your foot, but then eventually kind of just work yourself down to the ground. Just take a couple practices. You can just roll your leg around, extend your right foot down. Let's bring the left foot back up. Capture it on the bottom of your knee, and then just kind of rotate. And what you're doing is you're stretching. You're stretching more of that lower back muscle. I'm also working on your hips here. Want to be mindful that all your muscles are connected. So if you're working on one single muscle, if you ignore the other ones, you tend to create this unbalance. So the purpose of doing some of these exercises is it combines everything that we have going on. So what we want to do is kind of bring our knees up, plant them on the ground, and then we want to windshield wiper them from side to side. And you want to extend both your hands out and leave your back on the ground. So don't allow your chest or your shoulders to lift the ground. And let me show you how this looks. So my knees will windshield wiper right, and left. Notice how my chest, or basically my trunk, maintains there, and I'm still giving my lumbar a nice twist. It's working its way up the ladder, up to the bottom of my neck. Bring my knees to my chest and my head to my knees. I'm going to rock myself forward. Come back up. Now what we want to do is move to our foam roller. Now, I'd mentioned that we want to work on all the muscles. Like if we're focusing on our back, our lower back, understand that we need to knead our leg muscles. So you can do that with a PVC pipe, basically rolling that LT band. This is good for runners. This is how I'd always roll my legs before a long run. And basically you want to focus on all your muscle, your hamstrings, your LT band. And you can do that with the foam roller by positioning one leg and sitting on the side, and just the other leg, basically your right leg, would be on the ground in front of it, and then you want to extend your leg that you're rolling and just kind of levitate it. You want to roll back and forth, and you can get on your elbows to make it a little easier, and then you want to gently rotate your body around so that way you can get all sides of it. Maybe flip around, get your hamstring. Let's do the other side, and see that LT band. The more you do that, the better it is for your lower back there. So it doesn't seize up or tighten, so it ends up pulling that back muscle. I also want to be mindful to not roll over too much on your knee. I try to just reach that actual cusp of when my knee starts. I never go past the knee, and then I just continue to roll. I'm trying to get every part of that muscle. I'm trying to be as thorough as I can, and I'm moving a little too fast here, but again, go at your own pace. You can go a little slower. The slower you go, the better. Normally this practice would take me about a half hour before a good run. Come lay on your back, bring your knees to your chest, and then just start rotating, maybe tracing circles on the ceiling. Kind of give your lower back a break, bring your head to your knees. And again, I want to stress the muscles that we want to work here are also our core, or the trunk, which is kind of where a lot of our strength comes from. So you do that by doing these hollow holes. You want to elevate your legs off the ground, and now I'm coming up pretty high just to kind of show that doesn't matter where you're doing it, as long as you're holding that tension right in your core and your stomach area. Right? And I want to do this for about a minute, but do it in 20-second intervals, 10-second intervals, 5-second intervals, whatever feels the most comfortable. But the idea is to continuously do this and then slowly start bringing your legs lower and lower and lower to where you're actually holding your core in this fashion. So now what this is doing is getting you to engage those muscles. Bring your knees to your chest to kind of come out of it. Roll back and forth. Come to your seated position. Back to your knees. Now we want to do a sitting knee cat-cow. So inhale out, exhale in, inhale out, exhale in. We'll maybe do this about 3 times. Bring your blanket. We're going to work on our kind of relaxing. This is actually an active restorative pose. And the reason I call it active is what it's doing is it's going to massage your glute muscle. So I bring my knees up, and then I'm just trying to figure out where to position this blanket, but I want it to go over a glute. Now I roll over to my side, put my knees together and levitate my feet. And I want to start kind of picking up my legs, sort of like I was flailing like a fish. Now what that's doing is actually massaging my glute muscle right in that area. Let's do that with the other side. Now you don't have to bring your feet off the ground. You can do it from the ground. Just pick them up in micro movements. So you want to be mindful that what we're trying to do here is we're aiming to massage that glute muscle. Okay, set your blanket aside. Let's grab our bolster this time. Want to extend that stretch in the lower, on our lower back. Bring your legs in butterfly fashion. Breathe in. Bring your bolster right between your legs. Inhale your hands up. Exhale, forward fold, and come to a resting position. What feels good for you. Now what I'm doing here is I'm trying to arch my spine deliberately. So I'm getting like a good cat position. And I'm trying to also get that stretch in my hamstrings and my glutes and my lower back. And it might feel even a little more comfortable if you grip onto your feet and then hug the pillow closer. I alternate where I put my head. Take a couple breaths here. This should be a static position. Let's place the bolster in back of us. Bring your feet to a butterfly. Want to grab maybe your blocks here. If your feet don't, if your knees don't touch the ground all the way, use the blocks to kind of prop your knees up. See how I'm propping them there? What it's doing is giving me my knee support. And then I want to lay on the back of my bolster. And this is how we want to come to our Shavasana. Relax here. Take a deep breath. And this is how your practice should end.